Well, Resonate, isn't it amazing that we're planting 5 churches this year? And you get to see these people that have said yes to going and planting. And this is a big deal for us. It's like all of a sudden becoming very real. I want to give you a little bit more of the backstory to this. And so this week, we ask a little bit more about really what the story is in each of these couples. So I want you to get this, and I want you to help just understand just a little bit about what God has done along their journey.
It's great to get to talk with you today as you prepare to plant Resonate Church. Tell us about your incredible calling story, both to ministry, but also how the Lord led you to Resonate.
Really began praying, God, what do you have for us? If you would have asked us at that time, we would have said church planning would not have been our next step, and that starting anything new would not be what we wanted to do. And we wanted to leave Spokane. So opposite of where we are now, but God gently took us through that journey. Began meeting with Keith Weezer, Gary Irby, and the elders of Resonate for a while, months, to pray through this process to see, was God bringing this together, or was this just coincidence? And through time and prayer, we all felt like God was leading us to join forces to kind of enter into a unique time, looking at Spokane as a unique place where we could begin family ministry and really maybe accelerate young professional ministry, that this might be a time to join forces with the Garnicas, Taylor and Alex, and really hit the ground running. Pre-pandemic knowledge hit the ground running in Spokane.
Well, I mean, our calling story to Seattle really begins even before Ellensburg. When we got married in 2011, we began praying that God would do something in us together that he could never do in us individually. So praying that God would just do something incredible with our simple obedience. So that led us to really, at the time, a God-sized dream in planting a church in Ellensburg, having no prior experience doing that, having, hardly any ministry experience. So we planted a church here, and we're still here. 7-ish years later, we're still here. We've seen a church that's thriving. We've sent other churches and teams out as well. And so going to Seattle is obviously a step up in every way imaginable, in scale, in scope, in cost from Ellensburg. But in a lot of ways, the internal processing is the same. The calling piece, the only God dependent posture we have upon God is the same we had coming here to Ellensburg, even though our town, the entire town itself, is still half the size of UW. So there's, again, just the perspective and the context is very different. But in terms of the calling that we feel, the Seattle is really an extension of calling we have for the kingdom.
So I spent a pretty significant period of time asking God for affirmation in different ways, because it had become a desire of mine. And I don't know if it's common to desire to want to be a pastor, or if I had a romanticized idea of it. But God was really faithful to answer some of those prayers in very significant and specific ways. And one of them came when the SBC video for our 21 by 21 vision was dropped. And I watched that video for the first time, and I just could not hold myself together. And I still get choked up a little bit seeing it, and specifically seeing the scenes where the staff teams that were current in 2018 came across the screen, and seeing those people and the prospective teams that would go out just broke me. And I don't really know all the details of why that was, but it was certainly the beginning of that answered prayer that God was affirming in me this desire and this passion that I have for what we do as a church, and desire to be a part of it in a significant way.
Man, yeah, where do we start? I mean, it's been a crazy couple months for us, but Yeah, to be honest, we never thought we would ever plant in Corvallis. I mean, I think we were always open-handed with wherever God was going to lead us, but we had no plans to move or to plant again anytime soon. And yeah, with Corvallis specifically, I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things where we never realized God was calling us there until maybe now, when we look back, we can see some things that maybe God was working upstream, like Keith Evans said a couple weeks ago about him maybe preparing us for this transition when we didn't even realize it. And so specifically for me, my parents went to Oregon State University in the late 70s, and that's actually when they decided to follow Jesus. Was they were sophomores at Oregon State, both together when they were dating. And so literally the legacy of the gospel started for me in Corvallis, Oregon, in my entire family. And now myself and all my siblings are believers. And so that had always been a significant marker and a piece of my story and calling. I just never realized that we would be coming back to where it all started for my family.
So you're going to plant a new church. You're going to leave a perfectly good church, start a new church. So what is it that you feel like you're leaving behind as you look towards the future? What are you leaving as you look towards the future?
Yeah. You should start.
I think for me, something that stands out like hugely is my job. I feel like God so graciously gave me my calling towards being a teacher, but also his blessing in my student teaching at Pullman High School is where I'm a teacher right now, teaching science. And he gave me this job like it was a huge open door. It felt like, here you go. Like, this is exactly what you hoped for. It's my dream job. It's like, it's an incredible school, incredible people. I love my students. I'm crying thinking about it. So that's going to be the hardest part for me.
So tell me, what is it that you hope the Lord does through your future church? What is it that you hope happens on campus and in your city? What's some of the stuff that you dream about or that you hope God does?
A lot of the things that I'm really hopeful for in the impact that we believe we can have, that God can have at UNR, is specific towards the uniqueness of UNR as a place. The city or the state of Nevada is extremely unique in some of its laws, particularly the gambling laws and like sexual laws as well. And I just can only imagine the grip that those two things alone, along with all the other aspects of the college vices, if you will, have on students. And I just really hope that we can be a reflection of what God honoring and loving and caring and gracious community looks like to those people. Both just your average college student, your average freshman, but also the people that are gripped by the sex industry and are gripped by the casino life and the big lights and entertainment culture and all those different things. And honestly, we didn't mention it, but that terrifies me a little bit in and of itself. Just the realities that exist there that aren't as common, certainly aren't as common in Moscow. But within that brokenness is where I think God can do the most work, and we get to see his glory on display at UNR. And then there's also very, very little engagement by Christian organizations, by churches in the area with students on campus. And we do believe that the college campus is the powerful 1%, and that the people at UNR can be world changers. And there's not a lot of them being discipled. Next to none of them are being discipled. And so I think, just like we hope for every one of our sites, that discipleship will happen, and then we'll get to see discipleship multiplied and grow and grow and grow, but also some of those really specific details that are unique to the place. And hopefully, as we grow as a church, after we've been established and and rooted ourselves, we can also start to serve the community in unique ways. And I think it is home to a lot of needs and a lot of people with needs, and a lot of potential ministries in the future. So I know that a lot of people in our church have a heart and a desire for specific needs of people worldwide, nationwide, and a lot of that's present at UNR and in Reno. So I'm excited about the future opportunities of service and ministry that go beyond the campus, but are rooted to the campus too.
That's cool.
I'm excited that our city it's large enough where, there are so many pockets of young families and college students and young professionals. And so I'm excited this year that we get to start a lot of those new things, pilot a lot of some of those new things that Resonate wants to grow in family ministry and in young professional ministry, all the while Taylor and Alex are leading the collegiate charge and the young professional charge in that as well. I'm excited that all of that gets to happen at one time, which is kind of unusual within the Resonate world. And so that's something we're super excited to begin.
The city of Spokane has been growing a lot over the last 5 years, and a lot of people are moving from out of state. There's a lot going on in Spokane. So we're excited to see what God does with each of those groups. And then on top of that, our team has been talking about a lot of local businesses and small businesses that are starting there. And there's a voice of local businesses that's really strong in Spokane, and to see how God could have influence over those small businesses and use those small businesses for his glory. So we're excited to see what he's going to do through that.
You think about Seattle and really UW being nearly 50,000 college students, and a university that's just known nationally, even internationally, for a lot of the programs. So it's just got, tons of money, tons of influence, tons of leadership. If we see, a fraction of campus being redeemed and saved, think about the impact across the city, across corporate America, across industries that can disrupt and redeem in ways that, are just really exciting to think about. So we've said, if as Seattle goes, so the rest of the country goes. It really is on the cutting edge of culture. And so what's happening in Seattle today is coming for the rest of the culture in our country tomorrow, right? And UW is at the center of that. It's right in the middle of the city. It's just it's a major piece to the whole puzzle in Seattle. So we're just really excited about the kingdom opportunity that UW represents uniquely in our state as well as our region and country.
So what are you most excited about? What do you love about your city?
The mountains. Oh my gosh. It's like city mountains right there. Yeah. The first time we went there, we stayed at an Airbnb, and I kid you not, we drove 15 minutes and we got to a hike, and we hiked 4,000 feet above the city, 15 minutes away from our Airbnb.
Yeah, I think Reno gets a really bad rap. And I would have given it one until I went and visited. So I understand. Because you think of Nevada and you think of just the desert, or you think of, skyscrapers in the desert. And Reno isn't just that. It's very high desert. It's pretty high elevation. And the Truckee River does run right through it, which provides a ton of recreation. Reno, for whatever reason, it's got a lot of dog people. So if you like dogs, you get to see those a lot.
Fish in the river.
Yep, there's fish in the river. There are kayakers in the river as well, and lots of tubing. You can tube in the river. Can do all kinds of stuff in the river. There's also a beautiful river walk that borders kind of Old Town Reno and some cool coffee shops in the downtown area. And then the can't miss detail of Reno is that the Lake Tahoe is so close, and that world-class skiing is there. And when I say world-class, I literally mean world-class, like the Olympics were hosted there. So
not in Reno, but close.
No, but at Tahoe. And that's close enough.
Food, boba tea,
yes,
Asian food, Chinese restaurants.
We love Ellensburg, but guys, come on, we need some more options. Like, we lived here again 7 years, and we've hit every restaurant 10 times. Date night, we're like, hey, what? There's nowhere to go. There's no new restaurant to go try. So we're really excited about food. And when we make food, again, I think food is, again, an extension of culture, like just getting to experience people and just a breadth of life that is really narrow in Ellensburg. So we're excited about reaching and meeting tons of different people from different walks of life.
So right now you've got the ear of our whole church, and you've got the ear of the site that you're leaving from. So imagine that this is the moment that you get to give them your gospel goodbye. Why do you tell them that this is worth it? Why are you guys doing this? How is this worth it? And how would you encourage them?
It's so hard to think about all that I would want to say, but I think a couple things that come to mind are, one, just thank you, because when you submit to a very young pastor and his wife, who are very inexperienced, you're choosing to have extra grace and extra patience, and you guys, Monmouth, you guys gave me grace to stumble and to struggle. You gave both of us grace and patience as we are still young, still learning. And so thank you for giving us these years to let us struggle and stumble, and your grace and patience for us, because it's a rite of passage, right? We can just leapfrog that process. And so I think my first thought is thank you. And then my second thought is God has, like, and this is like one of my biggest Kairos moments from this year, is like my sanctification, our sanctification is not exclusive from the mission of God. And God has used Resonate Monmouth. God has used you guys to sanctify me, to sanctify us. And I love Jesus more because of you. And hopefully I can say I'm more like Christ because of you. And that's priceless. That's the greatest gift of all. And so I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Jacob Dahl, actually, I asked him what some scripture that really just spoke to him about church planting was, and he shared this with me. And since then, it like has never left my mind. It's always been on my mind when I think about church planting. And it's in Mark 10, where basically the rich young ruler can't give up anything to follow Jesus. He's like, oh, I've followed all the rules and everything. And Jesus says, there's one more thing: give up your possessions and give it to the poor and follow me. And he couldn't do it. And Peter's response is, he tells Jesus, like, oh, we have left everything for you. And then Jesus's response to Peter is what has just stuck with me. And he says, truly I say to you, there is no one who has left house or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or lands for my sake and for the gospel, who will not receive 100-fold now in this time houses and brothers and sisters and mothers and children and lands, with persecutions, and in the age to come eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and the last first. And I had never thought about that in the sense of church planting until Jacob Dahl pointed out. And it was the fact that those houses, those brothers, those sisters that you are gaining on the way they're not like blood related. They're people who are coming to know Jesus. They're the fruit of the labor, the fruit of the gospel, doing the work and saving people. And I think that has always been the goal. It's worth it. It's worth leaving these great things. Like, your family is great, your friends are great, your land is great, like all these things are good things. But when Jesus promises that we will receive 100-fold now in this time of brothers, sisters, mothers, all these things, it is a better thing to move forward towards. And I think that is worth giving up what you have.
I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to mind is just like, it's worth it. This will be our, well, technically second, but we've been a part of Resonate since year 2 and been a part of planting there in a lot of ways. And so I think after, like so many years of this, it just is so worth it to look back and see, like, we could have been building our own kingdom. We could have had a lot more money in savings. We could have, I don't know, had some nicer cars or something. I don't know, like what other people are building, and none of that's bad, but I think I just have no regrets about what we've built here in Ellensburg and what we want to believe God to do in Seattle.